It's very nice to be back. There are 3 poems of mine in Ben's Poetry Weekend Reader, which is a wonderful thing. And I also have 3 poems in an anthology that was put out by Frog Hollow Press, and because we're celebrating Frog Hollow particularly today, I'm going to read 2 out of the 3 poems in Ben's book, and 2 out of the 3 poems in Cadence, and 2 plus 2 equals 3. So, thank you. The first poem I want to read from Cadence, oh, by the way, this is edited by Kayla Geitzler, who is often here and has been at this podium numerous times, and Elizabeth Blanchard. I was thrilled when they asked me to take part in this wonderful project. It's New Brunswick writers who are women and female identifying, and it's part of the New Brunswick chapbook series that Ross mentioned earlier. I think now that the Queen has died, we know more about the old tradition of telling the bees. But when I wrote this, I had only heard it from one person named Sharon Johnston, who's the widow of a famous beekeeper from Grand Man named Bill Johnston. Telling the bees, for Sharon Johnston, in memory of Bill. When the bees lose their keeper, we tell them. The colony needs to know that a new pair of hands will tend them. That as the winds grow bitter, new arms will wrap the hive. A different netted face will appear in the spring. Other fingers will gently remove the super, lovingly scrape the frame, and look for gold. When do we tell them this buzzing parliament? As the first flowers open and call with an ancient urgency, or as the last straggling wanderers are homing pollen-laden at dusk? And what do we tell them? We can say that he was patient, kind, selfie-facing, but with a sly glint of humor in the resolute eye. A farmer of the old school wanting to do things right. A diamond in the oblique. But they know all that. What can we tell them but that he is gone, that he left before we were ready, that he is irreplaceable? And I suspect they know all that too. The other poem from Cadence I'm going to read is I was talking about it to somebody on a ferry from Grand Man yesterday, and I realized I don't really know what it means, but it's entirely true. True story. The sanguine skirt. That skirt in your closet was so optimistic, so more than optimistic, so sure I'd be back, and sat comfortably among your ties and your ideas, as I did not. No fault to the skirt. The failure of blue-eyed hope lay with me, and for all I know it's there still, happy to wait to be brought out when the need for adornment strikes. And here am I, dry-eyed but for a lone tear, for the loss of a long brown flowered skirt. And finally, my last poem was inspired by a book by Jane Gardner, whom some of you may know. I think it's called A Very Long Way from Verona. And the young heroine gets some possibly dubious advice about her future writing career from her English teacher, Mr. Dobbs. And Mr. Dobbs tells her, well, you have to take out everything that doesn't belong. You have to take out everything but the essential. And she's saying, like, wait a minute. Dobbs, I felt like saying, Mr. Dobbs, if I take out everything but the essential, pretty soon I have left nothing at all. So my take on this, a poem in which everything inessential has been removed. Sex, love, water, orange pico, those wrinkly Moroccan oil-cured olives, Cabernet Sauvignon, Gorgonzola, ribeyes, bones, skin. Thank you.